I would like to turn your attention to the Farr et al. Article on the relationship between team conflict and team creativity. So they were attempting to use team conflict to predict the creativity of a team. So the teams that they had were, I believe they had 71 of them, and they were working in an organization. I forgot what type of organization, but the whole idea is that they predicted this nonlinear effect where team creativity would be the highest at moderate levels of team conflict. So when there was too much conflict, creativity would be stifled because maybe people would be just too busy with the conflict and having no other resources to do their job in a creative way. And then at low levels of team conflict, creativity would also be low because some conflict is good because it generates new ideas and new thoughts and processes. So this is what they proposed, and I believe that follow-on studies have been conducted with a similar finding, and that is that sometimes the best work in teams is done when there are managed levels of conflict. So the conflict is not overwhelming and it doesn't turn personal. It's all about the task and people sharing different points of view for how to do the task. And so ideally the team can come up with the best plan because of the different ideas that they kind of mulled over together and had this moderate level of conflict. So that's kind of cool finding. So anyway, this is the way that they reported this result. So they have their table here, and there's a part that I'd like you to ignore, and that's the part where they actually proposed that the shape of the relationship between conflict and creativity would depend on the phase and the life cycle that the team was in. So in earlier phases, the quadratic relationship is more pronounced than in later phases of team of the team's life cycle. So that's something interesting perhaps to some of you and not as interesting to others, and that's okay because hypothesis 2, that interaction effect where the shape of the relationship depends on the life cycle of the team, that one is not important. So it's a nonlinear and an interaction together. So too complicated for now. Just focus on the nonlinearity. Okay, so ignore the part that the arrow is pointing to. That whole block where it says interaction. So we'll just focus on the first two blocks. And the first block, or the first three, I should say. The first block has the control variables. So if you have a nonlinear relationship that you're looking at and you have some control variables that you need to put in, that looks like they had group size, some other things that they thought would be related to the DV, which is creativity. So if you have those things in your study, put them always in the first block. It looks like the second block they put in the linear or the first order term, and so that is model 2. And then model 3 is the quadratic term. Okay, so there are 3 blocks, and so just pay attention to model 1, model 2, and model 3. Note how they didn't say block 1, block 2, and block 3. They could have done that. They could have said step 1, step 2, and step 3. So just so you know that there are different ways that you might see in journals for the terms that they give things in the tables. So they provide the B weights for everything for all those 3 models, and they give the R squared term, or the change in R squared, down below. So you can see below the line, the horizontal line there that's right under the interaction term, that the one that I'm saying that to ignore. You can see that they have the change in R squared for each one of those models or blocks. So, and they have its significance, and then the overall R squared for that block. So the R squared, if for that particular block and everything before it. So that's provided, and then the DF is given, so you can count the different the predictors to make sure that they did it correctly. So the numerator DF is given, and then a comma, and then the denominator DF, and that's pretty standard. I think I've mentioned that before, that when reporting DF, you can always do the numerator and then a comma and the denominator, and then the reader usually knows exactly what you mean. And then they have the overall F given as well. So you can see that how they organize this table is just a nice way of organizing the information, and it's given in a nice concise way as well. So easy for the reader to follow and also concise. They got it in a lot of information into this one pretty small table, which I thought was really cool. So that's a way that you can set up your table. Again, with tables and reporting results, there's no one set way to organize your table. So as long as it's clear for the reader and it's organized and it looks nice and all of the pertinent information is provided that a reader or a reviewer would want to see, then the table is a good one. So I'm just going to give you through the class different examples and templates of tables that you could use for various analyses.